Hello, this is Telecom TV reporting from Mobile World Congress 2016 in Barcelona. I'm talking with Michael Fitzgerald, who is the Vice President Global Industry Practice, CME at HP Enterprise. Michael, good to see you again.
Hey, same here.
Let's begin with this. Why is partnering so important to telco cloud transformation?
Because the telco cloud is a tool. It's the next generation platform for what will enable the business to be doing what it needs to be doing, and the change is just vast. It's not an evolution; it's a revolution. It's a major step change for the telcos and also all the people they'll be interacting with, because their businesses will be moving from providing voice and data as they do today, but moving that into new services and working with other sectors. So it's just huge. And to mitigate the risk and to move from an operating model which is very command and control, very structured, very used to working with a handful of competitors, to an environment which is much, much more multifaceted. So it's risk and setting out the journey.
Thanks, Michael. So given what you've said, what drives the need for partnering?
Well, the very basic thing that drives the need for partnering is a predicted hunger gap, if you like. The huge drop in voice traffic, 60-70% between 2013 and 2020, huge predictions in that falls off the edge of a cliff. The non-human data, the data which is all about applications and other types of services, is set to grow, not hugely, but it is going to expand. It's still going to leave roughly about a 30% gap. This is according to analysis. And in a global market that's worth about $1 trillion, that's $300 billion of where's it all going to come from? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the services that are starting to populate already some of that gap, and they kind of fall, and the value created from them, and they sort of fall into 4 categories. There's a connectivity premium, so what am I doing to improve the way I connect, how efficient that is, and that's more of a cost dividend than it is a service dividend, but there are some upsides. So moving to technologies like SDN and NFV, you've got virtual premise solutions, you've got MVNO, you've got things like that. The second is the performance, the performance of the environment, performance of the network to deliver new services. So obvious things like content delivery and new forms of consuming video on demand and things like that. The third thing is sensing and capturing information. So there's massive rush now to go down the IoT route, bringing in things from the edge of the network, analysing it, understanding it, turning it into new sources of service, but also monetizing it, turning it into things which can generate revenue. That in itself will drive huge levels of partnership. And the fourth one is the step changes that allow telcos to move into other sectors. So the whole smart city, smart car, all of these things, how's that really going to manifest itself? How's it going to work? And also the other major driver is the current constraints. So we talked about this last time, the telco glass ceiling. How do you move away from what essentially would be a restriction to those sorts of, capitalizing on those sorts of things and embracing new ways of working so that you can merge the two and exploit that to drive new forms of growth? All of those levels require partnering.
Michael, that was a very clear explanation of the 4 points you were making. Given that, what is the partnering key to success?
The most important thing is to acknowledge that it's just too big to do on your own. Try not to eat the elephant in one go. The reality is that when you unpack each of those 4 areas, it introduces all sorts of changes in virtually every dimension of the business. So finance, you're moving from a capital intensive environment to something that's much more nimble, much more forward looking in terms of incremental investment. So investment cycles are not so long, they have to be a lot shorter to deal with this. The culture side we've talked about before, moving from functionally separate processes to things which are much more integrated, aligned and agile. Partnering, instead of having NDAs and things which are, if you like, kept under wraps, they're more open, they're more aligned with what's going on in the industry more generally. And partnerships and business models, the whole business of it's closed versus it's open. These are the things that are important to acknowledge to start to build the partnering framework. The other thing that I mentioned before is the whole outside-in thinking, and the fact that it's a fix today and secure the future. It's a journey. It's not something that will happen all at once. Whilst the industry is going through revolution at almost every level in terms of the technologies and the things that are becoming available and the ideas that are coming to the fore, it's all about making sure that you are able to accommodate that in the journey that you create. So it's about constructing a journey that you share with others to mitigate the risk and do it bit by bit.
Okay, Michael, given that we're on a journey then, let me put you on the spot a bit more. Have you actually set off yet? You know, they say the longest journey starts at the first step. Have you set off? Are you on the way? How far along the way are you? What are you doing?
Well, on the one hand, HPE, who at Packard Enterprise, we've recently launched our transformation partner of choice philosophy. We passionately believe in this. We're very, very committed. But we're asking our clients the same question. We're asking our clients to be our partners in the future. And the first thing to do up front is to say, right, the strategy is what it is, because I would say most players out there know what their strategies are. It's about focusing it down and declaring what it is. That what they need from partners like us is the how-to in the main. They obviously need ideas, but they need less of those these days and more, how do we actually get this done? So the first thing is to declare the strategy and a commitment to partnership. The second thing is to take it seriously, is not to sort of treat it as you would in the sourcing environment where you send an RFP out and actually it's a disguised opportunity to reduce the price of something you already have. In reality, no, it's an investigation process that starts with ideation and moves all the way through to the delivery of a new service. Partners need to be involved in that process. The third thing then is to break it down into its parts. There is no one way of partnering for this whole journey. So we've said there are connectivity issues. So that would typically include the NEPs and include the infrastructure suppliers, the performance, that would require a lot more agility, a lot more players, a lot more of an ecosystem approach. The interrogate, analyse, understand, that's much more industry oriented. So getting partners who are connected with the industries that you want to play in. And even if it's firms that you bought, so if you acquire a media company or if you acquire an analytics environment or some smart technologies that allow you to work with an industry sector, bring that industry know-how in so that you've got it. And the final one is obviously M&A and building out new digital service propositions. So that's the next thing. The next ingredient really is to treat the corporation as the value proposition. So everything that's transformational is related to a business outcome. So laying out the foundations for a plan, getting people involved, and moving that on a screen basis. I mean, this is pretty basic stuff, but it's amazed how many organisations just don't think this way. Old-fashioned software development and product delivery was based on things like Moscow, must, should, could, won't. You do that because it's common sense, and you don't actually try and do something that's too difficult today. So that's the other part of it. And a really, really important thing to do up front, I should have mentioned this, is pick your digital integration partners. Pick those players who really, really understand how to put in that digital integration fabric. So the fabric, so you take the Telco cloud, you say, well, it's new network innovations and technology, it's new ways of orchestrating and managing data and services, it's new cloud platforms. Fantastic. What about the functional capabilities that would allow that then to connect up with everything else that you also want to make digital and exploit? And in each of those four areas, you have to have that. So a very early decision is going to be, who do I pick and who do I work with to help me put those foundations in place so that my fix today, secure the future strategy really works.
Okay, good seminar on partnering with just one people. Michael Fitzgerald, thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome.